Hello and welcome everybody to the Good Stories Podcast. My name is Jody, over there is Stevie, and we're getting into a new story today. And by new, it's not really. It's actually fairly old, first published in 1872. And at that time, I learned the first mail order catalog had just come out from Montgomery Ward. Ulysses S. Grant was president of the United States, and Gilbert and Sullivan were just getting started. So it was a while ago. But for this story, there were some massive changes in technology and transportation that were changing the world. Specifically, cross-country railway systems that reduced travel time by days, if not weeks, and the brand new Suez Canal. It connected the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, giving ships direct access between Europe and the Indian Ocean. It cut weeks off the journey, reduced costs and risks of travel, and made the world feel a whole lot smaller. And that's the backdrop for today's story, Around the World in 80 Days, written by Jules Verne. And for good reasons, he is called the father of science fiction. He was brilliant, imaginative, detailed, and by all accounts, just a genuinely nice guy. So, settle in. It's time for a story.
The Bank of England has been robbed. A cool and daring gentleman walked away with £55,000 of fresh banknotes. Shortly thereafter, this is being discussed in another part of London at the Reform Club between a cool and daring gentleman named Phileas Fogg and his fellow club members. This leads to a philosophical discussion of the shrinking of the globe, and Mr. Fogg claims it is possible to go around the world in 80 days. This soon becomes a wager, and Phileas Fogg sets out with his newly hired manservant, Passepartout, to try and accomplish the feat. This would be challenging enough, but the journey is made even more difficult when the determined detective Fix believes Mr. Fogg is the robber and is using the wager as a ruse to escape England and the law. The novel proceeds with the exciting journey, and we wait to see whether Mr. Fogg will win his wager, or fail in the attempt, or face arrest from Detective Fix.
Very good. So here's where I'm going to put our spoiler alert that we're going to go start to finish. So if you want to find out if he actually accomplishes his journey in 80 days, stick with us. But if you'd rather not know, come back later.
Yeah, go read it, because it's a wonderful, wonderful book.
It's true. It was written in French. I had no idea.
I was about to bring that up. It surprises me every time that Jules Verne was French. He writes about the English all the time. This seems to me to be a quintessentially Victorian English novel, but is written by a Frenchman and had to be translated. I was reading through some statistics on translations, and from, I think, like the 1970s, Jules Verne is the second most translated author in the world. He's ahead of William Shakespeare, who was listed as third, and behind
Agatha Christie.
Who knew that? Well, obviously you knew.
I was going to quiz you on that, man. I was shocked by Agatha Christie. And I think that might be part of why he's the most translated, because he was written in French. So yes, number 2 throughout time. That's surprising. I was surprised.
I'm still surprised. But also, I kind of get it. He's just fun to read. We've been doing some fairly heavy stories, some stories with some real deep meaning to them, which has been wonderful. But this one was refreshing. It was just a fun story to read through, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the characters are true to themselves throughout. They make a point, and kind of throughout it confirms kind of stereotypes about different countries. So like the British and their punctuality, and the Frenchman, Passepartout, great name. He feels things more, and he experiences things more, and it just throughout it confirms things, and it's hilarious. But I did look up Jules Verne. I had no idea really anything about him. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is the story of his I'd known from the movie. Have you read that one?
Yes, have.
Is it similar to the movie? That's a old Disney movie.
There are things similar. It's more different from the movie than this is different from the movies.
Is Nero
awesome?
Nicer?
Jules Verne seems to love the idea of just the stern, calm, cool, collected British gentleman. Nemo reminds me a great deal of Phileas Fogg.
Nemo, not Nero. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, totally different.
Nemo, not the fish, the captain. Captain Nemo. But he kills people. with his machinery, his submarine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true to the story.
Yeah, because remember, the world is not at peace.
Yeah.
Some of the things that struck me about Julius Verne when I...
Jules.
This might be a long one.
Oh, no.
Some of the things that struck me about Jules Verne when I was reading about him were his dates, and particularly the fact that he died in 1905. We have another author that we love deeply who died in 1905, and that's George MacDonald. So Jules Verne in France really spanned the same decades that George MacDonald did, which I just thought was kind of cool. The other thing is when you look up Jules Verne and his place and time of birth and place and time of death, he is born in the Kingdom of France. He dies in the French Republic. So his life spanned from the monarchy through the revolution and beyond into the 20th century. I mean, pretty fascinating time to be alive and to write.
I learned that he had cool friends. Victor Hugo and Dumas. I mean, he had literary friends, and I think he references Victor Hugo. He quotes him inside of Around the World in 80 Days. He wrote all the time, because the ones I know of are 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days, and Journey to the Center of the Earth. The ones where I saw the movies as a kid.
That makes sense.
But he wrote tons. I have a thing here that 5 Weeks in a Balloon was his first novel. And then he wrote more than a book a year for 40 years. And they were all part of this thing called the Voyages Extraordinaire. And he was very much into mechanical things and how things worked and ships and transportation. And I understand he'd tear through scientific journals and just spend hours on the docks watching boats and things. So he was definitely an enthusiast. This wasn't his job. He did really well with it. And he predicted all these things that came true. So that's what they say, where H.G. Wells was, using his imagination for futuristic things. He's like, no, these aren't futuristic in the sense that they won't exist. These are futuristic in that this is how technology is going to play out. And he predicted things like the submarine.
Yeah. I know the first nuclear submarine, I believe, was named the Nautilus after the ship in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Ah, that's so cool. Yeah, I bet he'd like that.
Yeah, totally.
His publisher, I guess, because they had such a long relationship, he was describing him. And honestly, the more things I looked up, the more people gushed about him. I mean, truly just a nice guy, interesting guy, smart guy. His publisher said he got a little jaded at the end. So he kind of sat on some of his stories that were a little too cynical later on. But early on, he was a dreamer, and I have some quotes from it's not his specific publisher, but it was a man who worked with him, that this describes Jules Verne. He is amiability itself. The author, Jules Verne, leads the laborious, regular, and sober life of a student. He makes verse with extreme ease. If ever there was a person who could be called marvelously gifted, it is Jules Verne. I mean, he goes on, and there is much gushing.
Those are wonderful things to have said about someone. That's great.
So, serious guy, worked really hard, seemingly, and the people he worked with seemed to really appreciate him. So, all to the good.
Yeah, good for you, Jules.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What else you got?
I guess the only other thing I have on Jules Verne is my love of the Back to the Future series. And Doc Brown is also a huge fan of Jules Verne. And when he marries the school teacher in the third one, their two children are named Jules and Verne. So that's kind of fun.
I'd forgotten that. That's great. So I learned that because 5 Weeks in a Balloon was his first novel, and he had much about balloons. And in the movie, it starts with a hot air balloon and is wonderful. It said that he only ever spent 24 minutes on a balloon himself. But he was very much into ships, and he bought at some point a small yacht named I'm going to say it wrong because he was French, the San Michel, after his son. And then he upgraded it, and it became the San Michel 2.
Okay.
And then he upgraded again. San Michel 3. So
seeing a pattern.
Not super creative with his yacht names. But I understood he was in it a lot, and he traveled from Scotland to the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, quite the sailors. So the premise for this story, Around the World in 80 Days, I guess is actually based initially on a true story, kind of the inspiration. A U.S. railroad magnate named George Francis Train That's his real name. A railroad superhero is named George Train, but I guess he was running for presidency, and he said that he would travel around the world in 80 days or less. I think he just came up with a number, and he didn't do it.
Hmm.
It didn't accomplish it. And so that's where this came from. But later he tried again, but it was a lot later. So this book is set in 1872.
That's when it was published, so I assume that's when it takes place.
I think it says in the first line, 1872.
Oh,
so
yeah,
in
it does right here.
1889, there's an American journalist named Nellie Bly that she set out to beat the time. And she did it in 72 days. She beat the 80 days. But that was 17 years later?
Hmm.
And then George Train did it again, I think in 1890. And again, he beat the time because technology kept improving. So they did beat the 80 days. It's going to be tight for Phileas Fogg here. The initial outline comes from the paper.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the newspaper inspired you to take a trip around the world?
I was reading, too, that Jules Verne would get these ideas for stories and sit on them. Sometimes he said for, 10, 15 years. Like you say, he wrote prolifically over a long period. And a lot of this came from because he saw printed in a paper this idea that you could travel around the world in 80 days.
My book has very long titles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As I think yours does too. I don't think it was published that way, but as we said, a lot of translations of his work. And so somebody at some point put in some very detailed chapter titles.
The first one, for example, states, in which Phileas Fogg and Passepartout accept each other, the one as master, the other as man. And I would try really hard over the course of this to say Phileas, because I keep wanting to say Phineas because of that delightful cartoon, Phineas and Ferb, which is one of the best ever.
100%.
But it's not Phineas with an N. This is Phileas with an L.
Phileas and Fogg with 2 G's. And we learned that Phileas Fogg is a polished man of the world. That is a quote. Polished man of the world. We learn a lot of things he isn't. He doesn't seem to be a manufacturer or a merchant or a farmer. Little is known about this guy, but he is clearly wealthy and he loves schedule.
Indeed. We also learn that he is a member of the Reform Club. To be a member of a club, how fun is that? That's not really a thing anymore. You don't go to the club, but he is a member of the club on schedule, regular, consistently. He practically lives there except for the brief time he sleeps away from the club. And he is rich, which is why he's a member of the Reform Club, because that's the one criteria they have to have you come in is steady payment, and he's able to do it.
Yeah, so this is in London, and we learn where he lives. There's a reference to a Sheridan who lived at the same place, Savile House, which I just looked him up because they said Sheridan, like I should know who that is. Do you know who that is?
I don't, and I meant to look it up and did not. So please tell me, who is Sheridan?
Well, it says he died in 1814, so well before Phileas lived in this home. But there's some discussion about whether it was 1816 or 1814. I'm like, just tell me who the guy was. But he was an Irish playwright and Whig politician who happened to live in the same home as Phileas Fogg. So we don't know where he came from. But yes, he is unflappable. I mean, his schedule is down to the minute. He orders food at certain times and he has the same thing at the club every day and the same papers. And all he does while at the gentleman's club is absorb the newspapers and play whist.
A fanatic about the newspapers and whist.
What is whist, brother?
Whist is a card game, and I'm excited because I have been reading about people who love whist most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Phileas Fogg is a devotee of the game. He loves it. It's all he wants to do, really. The other one in literature that I came across is Horatio Hornblower, the great naval captain. And he lives for whist and will play it before battles. And so I've heard the game described, but I've never known how it was played or what the game was. Well, I looked it up, friends, and so here is how whist is played. To anyone who's familiar with games like hearts, spades, pinochle, it's actually going to be pretty familiar. It takes a standard deck, so 2 through ace. Ace is high. and you deal out the cards like you would for any other game where you start at the dealer's left and just deal it around. The very last card gets placed up in front of the dealer, and this becomes the trump suit. That's how you determine what suit is trump. Everyone then begins to play one card at a time in a series of tricks starting on the dealer's left. So the person will play a card. He can choose any card that he wishes to play, and then the next person must follow suit if he or she can. If they cannot follow suit, they are allowed to play a trump, which would automatically win the hand. The highest trump card wins. If no trump is played, the highest card in the starting suit wins. So each of the players plays a card, and that is one trick. This will commence 13 times, at which point everybody's hand will be empty. So there's 13 tricks in a rubber in a game. To score, you have to get more than 6 tricks. So you get 1 point for every trick gained above 6. So if you take 7 tricks and your opposing team, because you play with partners, you're a partner with the person across from you. If the opposing team gets 6 and you get 7, that means you get 1 point. It doesn't matter what the cards are you pull in, it's just the number of tricks. If you take all 13 tricks, you get 13 points, and then another deal happens, and it just continues from there.
So here's always talking about winnings, and something we love about Phileas Fogg is that anything he wins, he donates. He gives it to charity. He gives it to someone. It's entirely charitable giving. When do you bet? I mean, that is an awful lot like Pinochle. I do like Pinochle, and I've read the same book, so I always wondered about whist myself with Hornblower.
Yeah, we might have to play, Jody. I think we can do it.
I think we could do it, yeah. When would you bet?
I think you would determine ahead of time exactly what you're going to bet on. The most obvious thing to me would be that you would bet on points. So after an evening, whoever has more points, you would win based off of a certain dollar amount for however many points you've earned.
Yeah, our family doesn't actually gamble. Like, we'd play betting games like Michigan Rummy, and we use, plastic poker chips. I remember once, I think it was New Year's, we used M&Ms, and that was a mistake.
Oh, it was epic.
You lost right away.
It was great.
So when I say bet, ours is very not real betting. But yeah, we could totally play. Did you say you got to have 4 people, though?
There are other ways of playing, but the standard way is with 4 so that you have a partner across from you. You can play 3-handed forms of whist with a dummy hand. And so there's ways of making that work, but ideally it should be a 4-person game. 2 teams.
Got it. So yeah, that's what he's doing at the Reform Club. He's having meals at specific times, reading the paper, playing whist, and it describes some of his meals and how eccentric he is. I like this quote. It basically says, if that's being eccentric, there must be something good in eccentricity. Even down to the glasses, which he uses for his many drinks of port and sherry and cognac. Specific glasses for Phileas Fogg.
Oh, yeah. I've always thought of this, again, as a quintessentially British work. But now that I know that it's a French author, passages like that make more sense to me. It seems like he would care about food and drink. I mean, isn't that a very French thing?
I think it's the prescription of things that he's referring to. So the word punctilious comes to mind with the British, just very specific as to details. He is also very imperturbable. He makes me think big words. Unruffled. You cannot disturb this man. It says he never makes movements that are unnecessary. He doesn't move suddenly. He's never surprised. I realized in almost every other story, the main guy or the main characters almost always have something they say, like a phrase or a exclamation or an expletive. No, he is completely even keeled.
I'm trying to think of shorter words. Cool. I'll go with cool.
But he's also severe in some way. So he does have a manservant who, takes care of his needs at home. But again, very specific.
He's supposed to take care of his needs. But the water was 2 degrees off.
2 degrees. His shaving water. This man gets fired. His manservant gets fired because his shaving water is 84 degrees instead of 86 degrees.
And I felt so bad for this manservant because not only did he get sacked for this ridiculous thing, but he had to introduce his replacement. He
Yeah.
had to lead his replacement into the room to meet Phileas Fogg. But his replacement is wonderful. And his replacement is where we meet Passepartout.
Jean Passepartout, which is a great name. It's something like, I mean, I think it literally means passport. You know, it's your access to things. But he is his own character. So where Phileas Fogg, I too am struggling. Phileas Fogg is very British. Jean Passepartout is exceedingly French.
Exceedingly. And he has done a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So he makes a joke about his name being Passport because he traveled so much and did so many things. He was a gymnast, an acrobat, a firefighter. He sang on the streets. Just wanderlust seemed to be a part of his life, but he is very clear that he is now over it. He has done all that. He's flitted here and there. He wants somebody boring. He wants somebody established, respectable, a creature of routine. And if you're looking for that, you cannot find a better example than Phileas Fogg of London.
Yeah, so when Passepartout gets there, he has a quick interview. I mean, it's very short. Phileas says, okay, you're hired. And he goes to the club because it's time to leave for the club. And there's an itinerary where Passepartout can know everything he's supposed to do and the temperature of different things.
And he loves it.
He loves it.
Yes. Finally, somebody with a rigid schedule that I can get behind. One other thing happens before Phileas goes off to the club is we meet Passepartout's watch.
Yeah.
Passepartout is very proud of his watch. It's an heirloom, and it is a little bit off from Mr. Fogg's watch. But Passepartout bristles at that idea because he loves his watch so much. The watch will continue to show up throughout the story.
But it is 4 minutes too slow, according to Phileas Fogg's watch. And so Passepartout, the amount of mental math that must be done by these men is shocking to me. It means he must always adjust by 4 minutes, no matter what he's doing, because Phileas Fogg said, fine, don't change it. But now you know.
Yeah.
4 minutes. It's funny, the temperature of the water, that kind of detail, I'd be like, nobody cares about the temperature of their shaving water. My husband, the EP, has a specific temperature for his shaving water. And I got him this cool little tea kettle thing that boils water, and you can specify the temperature. It's amazing. Highly recommend.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Do you have a temperature?
I do not, but I'm also fully bearded.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Back in my Navy days, you just shaved with whatever you had. I mean, it was just something that you always had to do all the time. So
Cold water.
I don't think I ever had the time or the opportunity to really develop a rhythm with it. When I was in college, my older brother did buy me a straight edge, and that was hilarious and bloody.
Oh, no.
So, but it was kind of great too. So that was fun.
I'm glad I missed that. Okay.
Shaving stories. Here we go.
So Passepartout, they describe his face, and he's simple, and he's honest, and I think he's good-hearted, and he's super strong. I think the guy's jacked.
Oh, yeah.
He
He's
does
a
all kinds of
gymnast.
stuff. Yeah. He's very just physically capable, but he gets fired up about good-heartedness and good actions and things. So that's important to know about him, too. Passepartout, he's sure that he's found his spot because he wanted something immensely predictable. And it says that Phileas Fogg is exactitude personified.
Yes. He walks into the closet, and every garment is listed for day of the year, season, day of the week, occasion. It is so regimented in this home. And one of the things Passepartout likes about it too is really he gets a lot of time to himself because Phileas is at the club. And so when he's at the club, he needs to, clean and do his job, which he throws himself at. But he's very happy.
Yeah, so describing his new employer, here's the quote. He says, Phileas Fogg, was the most deliberate person in the world, yet always reached his destination at the exact moment. This, I think, is admirable and hard to do because it's not that he's early all the time. And, he'd never be late. It's at the exact moment. But he doesn't even stress about the moment upcoming because he's going to be precisely on time. He counts his steps to the club throughout it notes this mental math that he's doing where he's counting his steps and the distances and the hours and the seconds and the minute. Amazing. I don't think I could do it.
Well, no, because you would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, this is OCD to the extreme, but you don't get that sense from him. I mean, you get the sense that Mr. Fogg just likes this, that he's comfortable with this. This makes him know his role, where he's at, his place. There seems to be something about belonging here. And it also helps if you are unfathomably wealthy, that he can choose how he is going to spend his number of steps and his seconds and dictate his days exactly as he pleases.
I bet that would help.
I've heard.
I mean, stories say. But yeah, Passport 2, he's like, it's like serving a machine. He's like, okay, I can serve a machine. No problem. But then we flip to the club, because this is where Phileas spends his time, and he's reading the papers, he's absorbed, and this is where he and the other gentlemen there start discussing the robbery. 55,000 pounds was a lot of money then, and I converted it.
I'm curious if your numbers are the same as mine, because I just did some math.
Nearly $8 million.
I think it's more.
Do you?
Well, let me explain why I say that. So, what I found was that in the 1800s, £1 was worth about $4.50. I'm sure that fluctuated and changed over the course of the century, but I'm just going with $4.50 on average. And so, if you convert 55,000 pounds straight to dollars, it would have been $247,500 if I did my math right. But the other thing I looked at was inflation. And the inflation I saw said that £1 in 1872 is worth 143.5 pounds today. So if you multiply 247,500 by 143.5, I got over 35 million.
I did not do my own math. I used a little calculator.
Jody is the money person here. She's the math
I didn't do my
one.
own math.
So regardless of what the number is, it's staggering.
It's a fortune, this guy. And they said the paper calls it must be a gentleman, and it must have been taken in large bills. Ooh, that might be from the movie. But he just walked out with it. A teller was counting out shillings, and there was tons of money on the counter. So he left with it.
But the author describes how this isn't necessarily an unusual or a surprising thing, because the bank seems to be especially trusting of its clientele.
Yes.
He describes an incident where this gold bar got just passed around the room out of interest. You know, people were curious and wanted to handle it, and it made its way around and back to the teller.
It was returned over eventually. So yeah, there's definitely a cultural thing here. So they weren't initially worried, and then there's a Bank of England president or something who's part of the Reform Club. So it's not a great day for him.
He's being twitted a little bit.
Definitely twitted. Very British. Fogg has thought about this, and these men make some comment about, the robber will probably get away. There's lots of places for him to hide in the world. And then that's where the conversation goes, like, well, the world's smaller than it used to be. And the paper just said that you can actually get around it. The whole thing, tour the world in 80 days. And they break it down.
Yeah, they print the itinerary. This is in the Daily Telegraph. It says, from London to Suez via Monsenia and Brindisi by rail and steamboats, 7 days.
Yeah, so that's down through Italy and across the north part of Africa.
From Suez to Bombay by steamer, 13 days. From Bombay to Calcutta by rail, 3 days. From Calcutta to Hong Kong by steamer, 13 days. From Hong Kong to Yokohama, Japan by steamer, 6 days. From Yokohama to San Francisco by steamer, 22 days. From San Francisco to New York by rail, 7. And from New York to London by steamer and rail, 80 days total. 9 was the last one, sorry.
I did do that math, and that does total to 80.
I trusted them.
We flipped it. And here's where their debate comes in, where Phileas Fogg says, yeah, I could do that. Anybody could do that. Maybe he doesn't say anybody. He says, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the men push back. They're like, well, there's no exceptions for, bad weather or bad winds, shipwrecks, accidents, you get sick, whatever. There's no exceptions in it. And Phileas Fogg says, nope, that is all included. The unforeseen does not exist. Interesting. And he repeats that many times in this book, where It's been foreseen. I accounted for that.
And he doesn't even stop playing.
No.
He keeps bugging the other ones that it's their turn. Play already, kind of. But
Whist is important.
But calm. He does it calmly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah, and they go back and forth where he's like, no, I could do that. And they give him some grief about it. Well, that's a minimum in the paper. He says, a well-used minimum suffices for everything. It includes all the exceptions that could possibly happen. I mean, this man evidently has thought this through. Somebody's like, hey, I would like to see you do that. Is it a wager? You're like, well, you're joking. He says, a true Englishman doesn't joke when he is talking about so serious a thing as a wager. I will bet 20,000 pounds against anyone who wishes that I will make the tour of the world in 80 days or less, in 1,920 hours or 200 minutes. Do you accept? That's a big wager.
It is. And again, if my math is right, which big if, friends, big if. But if my math is right, that would have been the equivalent of around $90,000. I actually did this because when he was shelling out money in America later in this book, I was trying to figure out, well, how much is that of what he took with him? Because we know he started with 20,000 pounds. But if I'm doing my math right, about $4.50 to the pound, that's about $90,000 he takes with him, which again, if you account for inflation, and if that number I found was accurate, we're talking almost $13 million he's betting. So...
See, I agree on the conversion to dollars and 1872. It's just the inflation percentage.
Yeah.
And yours is probably right because, again, I cheated and used a little calculator.
I went with Google, and it could be totally wrong. But regardless,
It's a lot of money.
Absurd amount of money he's willing to bet.
Yeah, it turns out it's half his fortune. Half his fortune that he's willing to just wager away on this, turns out, matter of honor. And that's one of those kind of stereotypes that's proven in this story, where Englishmen bet. It's this idea of wagers. It's in their blood, and it's not just about the money. At the end, it says he didn't even take this for the money.
Mm-hmm. And
It's a matter of honor.
Even early, it makes that clear that it's not a money thing, because he chose his amount based off of what he thought he would have to spend. So he took about half of his disposable income because he thought it would take him that much to make it, so he wouldn't really make anything in the end. The thing about it, though, is he doesn't even take any time to do this.
Mm-hmm.
He basically says the train is leaving later today. I'll be on it. That starts the clock. In his head, he says what date he'll be back, by what time. And they're trying to offer him more time to make preparation. He says, no, I'm quite ready now, was his tranquil response. Diamonds are trumps. Be so good as to play, gentlemen.
Yeah, he's going to leave for a trip around the world that evening at 8:45 p.m. In this book, they phrase it backwards, and it's not a comfortable phrasing for me. They say 8:45,
Mm-hmm.
or 15 minutes past 8, or they always phrase it kind of before or after the hour.
Mm-hmm.
I like the minutes. The train leaves for Dover at 8:45 p.m. and he's going to be on it. But in the meantime, he has some whist to play. And these men take him up on this wager. Like, okay. So he leaves on October 2nd, and the train will be at 8:45 p.m. And so if he projects forward 80 days, he has to return to the club December 21st at 8:45 p.m.
And there's the bet. There's the wager. That was what he is engaging to do. He goes home after winning some money at whist, and he rings for Passepartout. Passepartout knows he's not supposed to be home yet, so he doesn't respond to the first ring.
It's not in the schedule.
Can't be right. Poor Passepartout, he doesn't even get to enjoy the regularity for a day, because his master comes home and says, we are leaving. Let's go.
We are going around the world. He tells him, no trunks, don't pack stuff, don't bother. We got a carpetbag here. He fills it with money. 20,000 pounds. So the other half of his fortune goes in this bag. Carpet bags. Very British. Mary Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I know carpet bags from. I don't think his is magical, but it's got a lot of money in it.
That's about as close as you can come to magical, I think, in this society.
Yeah.
So that is a lot of cash. And yeah, they climb on the train and away they go. But
But before they get on the train, and this is important, I think, because old books don't describe people in such detail. You learn from what they do. You infer from how they act and the choices that they make inside it. So far we've seen Phileas Fogg be taciturn and steady and tranquil and even and kind of lifeless. I mean, he took this wager, but he's not fired up about anything. Even his interview with Passepartout is very just even. But on the way to the train, they meet a beggar woman. I think it's a wife or a woman and her child living on the streets. And he had just won at whist. And that is what the money, he always gives that money away. And he hands it to her and says, "Here, my good woman, I'm glad that I met you." And then they get on the train. I think it signifies a lot about him because in a lot of ways, as you read it, he's not quite likable if you just take him on surface level. These things are put in there on purpose to show, oh, he does have a heart, and it helps Passepartout like him.
Passepartout had a moist sensation about the eyes. His master's action touched his susceptible heart. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that because I struggled to like him on this read-through. It had been, I don't know, a year or so since I had read this, and he was just so cold through so much of this. And it is passages like that, and there were some passages I marked later on that we're going to come to that helped me to like him again.
Yeah, it shows he has heart in there. I do think he learns things himself on this trip around the world. How could you not? But he gives away all of his winnings.
He does, but I think part of why I overlooked that is the next part of this chapter, the way this chapter ends, which really seemed just mean. Passepartout says, oh my goodness, right? He realizes something. He left the gas burning in his room, to which Mr. Fogg says, well, no matter, it will continue to burn at your expense.
This is a burden, the whole trip to Passepartout, because he's calculating how much money he's losing on this gas burning at home. They didn't have a cell phone. No one to call at the house. But yes, they are on the train to Dover. The movie actually adds some adventures between this part and where we kind of jump ahead in the book. And in the movie, the old movie anyway.
Yeah, when we're talking about the movie, we are talking about the David Niven one, the old one, which is wonderful and delightful.
And that's where the balloon comes in, the hot air balloon. They get in a hot air balloon out of London, which is fun. My book even has a hot air balloon on the cover. There are no hot air balloons in this story. That's funny to me. It's from his 5 Weeks in a Balloon story, and I do think the movie's fairly iconic because it's a cool balloon. We switch, actually, perspective here, where the chapter title is, in which a new species of funds unknown to the moneyed men appears on change. That's the exchange, their stock market. They're called Phileas Fogg bonds on the market. These Englishmen and people everywhere are betting on his wager.
They are going crazy about this. There are passionate people on both sides and plenty of people saying it's ridiculous, it just can't be done. But then others who are really devoted to the idea and think, well, maybe I can. And is this the chapter where there's the wealthy man who bets a lot of money, like £5,000?
Yeah, like a lot.
And pretty much they all say, what are you doing? And he does it purely out of patriotism. He says, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be an Englishman. And he stands by.
He's going to do it first. But it says to bet is the English temperament. And that's that stereotype confirmation I was talking about. You know what it made me think of, though, is The Quiet Man. The movie The Quiet Man with John Wayne, where he goes to Ireland. It's the only thing I can think of where people bet with such enjoyment. You know, where they're taking bets as they go on the fight, and that's what this is like in my mind, where it's just throwing money both ways, and they have to recalculate the odds on going until there's a description of the robber that gets put out, and at Scotland Yard receives a telegram from one of their detectives that says, "I found the bank robber, Phileas Fogg. Send without delay warrant of arrest to Bombay."
Before we move on, I just want to make sure people acknowledge the absolute jewel of a movie Jody just mentioned. If you have not seen it, I envy you. Do yourself a favor, go find it. I love John Wayne, and it's my favorite John Wayne movie. It is so good. The Quiet Man. You'll love it. All right.
It
Moving
is
on.
good. And it is different from anything else I know of that he ever did. The Quiet Man. And there is some betting in that. But they're Irish, not English, but still. The delight in betting. And here, it's funny how the stock market is really just official betting.
Mm-hmm.
Really, they're just throwing, it comes up with a new bond type. But it's not popular anymore when they think he's the robber. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's stolen money. So it really fizzles out just a week after he leaves. 7 days presumably. And now they're going to issue a warrant for the rest. Phileas Fogg is mentioned by name.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next chapter we learn why.
Detective Fix is going to be a major player in this book. He is committed. The bank has agents around the world that have been sent out to try and find this, and they're offered a commission. These are bounty hunters, and this is such a huge robbery that if they catch the guy, they get a massive cash bonus for doing it. And Phileas Fogg meets the description perfectly of the robber. And so Mr. Fix believes he has him, that this must be the robber. And if you think about it, back in the Reform Club, they were talking about how the guy was daring and he would certainly want to leave the country immediately. And what more daring way of doing it than this very public wager? What a great excuse to leave the country and get away. And so he thinks he's got his man.
Yeah, like he's using the wager as this ruse to get back. So Fix sees Phileas Fogg and Passepartout when they come get off the steamer after the Suez Canal. So they've already gone a fair ways east, but he's positioned to look for this robber.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to the consul there because the consul stamps passports, so everybody kind of comes through him. And he gives him the description of this bank robber. And the guy basically says that could resemble anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty generic. He's like, no, Phileas Fogg is it. He is convinced that Phileas Fogg is the robber, especially because of the story where he has all this money. He's spending money like crazy. Passepartout shows the passport because they need a stamp.
Mm-hmm.
Phileas Fogg said that to the gentleman at the Reform Club, they'd always get their visa stamp so they could see the route that he'd taken.
Yeah.
To confirm where he'd been, which is clever.
I love the title of the next chapter, which once more demonstrates the uselessness of passports as aids to detectives. So this speaks to exactly what you were saying, where the guy thought, really, this could meet any sort of description. I'm always amazed reading through detective stories and things where they describe somebody. Have you ever tried to describe somebody? It's almost impossible. I mean, to be able to recognize someone from a description, so hard.
I agree. Did you ever watch the show Bones?
Not a little bit, not much.
They have people do that where, can you describe him to me? And they have a image sketcher lady who's great actually, but it's always identical. And then they find them in like records because the image matches exactly. I'm like, that is so unbelievable. It's a plot device. I get it, but
works
it is hard to describe. Well, they had brown hair, I think. I agree with you. Anyway, they go get their passport stamp, but Fix can't arrest him. He doesn't have a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
He sent a telegraph to London, but that's going to take some time to get to him. So instead, he just starts following them around.
Yeah. Devoted and dedicated to this. He's trying to slow them down, too, because every day where they move on this journey, they're moving out of British Empire. This is the days of the British Empire. These were the days where the sun never sets on the British Empire because they have lands all around the world, but their lands are not the whole world. And there's all these areas that Fogg can disappear into. And that's what Fix thinks he's going to do. He's going to find one of these places that's not under crown jurisdiction and just fade away and disappear.
Yeah, we learn about Phileas Fogg's travel journal, though. I kept a travel journal on trips. It's difficult to find time, right, to make sure you take notes and stuff. But his is more like a spreadsheet. I mean, it is detailed with columns, and he can calculate durations for different steps of the trip. It's, quote, a methodical record, so it can show the gains and losses of times. I mean, he is thorough. But that is what he is doing, is he is traveling around the world. He never wants to inspect the town. He never wants to look at anything. He wants his meals, and he keeps his travel journal. That's it.
And this was where I found him irritating me a little bit as I was reading this, because how could you not want to at least look out on deck? How could you not want to experience something of what's around you in this journey? But he doesn't. He is happy to be in his room, and that is it. It is funny though, as everyone else is getting seasick on these steamers and ships as he's traveling. Iron stomach.
Mm-hmm.
He will eat the same thing no matter what. Again, unflappable. It just does not bother him. So they leave from Egypt and they get on this steamer that's working their way down through the Red Sea and into the Indian Ocean. And this is where Passepartout's watch makes another appearance, because now they are truly traveling east. Up to this point, they'd been traveling east, but south more than anything. Now they're really crossing longitude lines. And Passepartout discovers that all the clocks are wrong. Everyone else's clock is inaccurate. And somebody tries to explain ship time to him, the fact that as you travel over these meridians, you go through different time zones and that he needs to adjust his watch. He refuses. His watch is correct. Everyone else is wrong.
He says the sun is wrong. Yeah. The sun and the moon are wrong. They'll figure it out at some point. But here's where Fix, he befriends Passepartout because Passepartout loves to be up on deck. He's always looking around, and the descriptions of the places here, they're not just pretty, they are exact. Jules Verne, the author, was a detailed man, and he did his homework, and some of these places he'd been, some he hadn't, but he did his homework on all of them. So the descriptions of each one are very good about the different things you would see at each of these places. And Passepartout can't even believe they're in Africa because it's been a whirlwind. They haven't had time to see anything. But he's like, wow, really? This is Africa? But Fix is able to determine that Passepartout really isn't part of this. It actually goes even more to confirm that Phileas Fogg is the man because he just took on this new manservant. Couldn't have been part of the robbery. So that's part of the thing that goes to convince him.
Mm-hmm. And he's carrying a bag with all this money that he's lavishly throwing around. Everything is really adding up for the detective. It makes sense that this would be the guy.
So, yeah, that's the point at which he sends that telegraph back to London. But he boards this steamer to cross the Red Sea to Bombay. And it is a long ways. I did the math here because they go from Suez to a refueling place is called Aden. And it's 1,310 miles. And it says the steamer has 138 hours to complete the trip. So that's 9.5 miles per hour or so. Nautical, knots are close. They're not exactly the same, but about 9 miles per hour, I'd guess. So that's about 6 days. Okay. But they have to refuel. These are coal-fueled steamships. It's crazy the amount of distance they have to cover. Even in this paragraph, though, the section, he puts in the specific military wages of different ranked men on board.
I saw that.
It's really interesting where he goes
does make
detailed.
You want to be a general.
Yeah,
they made
perks.
Way more.
But they're all on a steamer crossing the Red Sea, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But Phileas Fogg, he is always the same no matter where he is. And it says that he passed through the memorable scenes of the Red Sea with cold indifference. And he finds some whist partners and he plays endlessly in absorbing silence. That's part of what he likes about it. You don't talk. It is it's a silent game. You don't have to talk. The game part doesn't require any speaking. No. And in fact, it would be cheating. Our family were fairly big pinochle players. And when I got to college, I met some friends who were huge into pinochle. So I can understand his fascination with the game to some degree because the sheer hours I have spent playing pinochle is almost a little embarrassing. But one of the things is this idea of table talk, because people will cheat. They'll talk with these codes and things. And so I would always play in silence myself because that cheating bothered me. And so I kind of see where he's coming from here. You cheat when we were kids, but then you had to tell me because you thought it was awesome that it worked.
Well, that's true. Well, she's talking about her card manipulation. So I was very excited when I learned how to stack a deck. But yeah, I could never actually get away with it, honestly. But it was fun.
Passepartout, he's along for the ride here, but again, he wanted to stay at home and be predictable. So he thinks this is a whim out of the blue, and that by the time they reach Bombay, once they get there, this is going to fade away. Mm-hmm. But he keeps chatting with Detective Fix on board. He doesn't know he's a detective, but they're on the ship together. And here's where they describe as they come into Bombay, the mosques, the minarets, temples, pagodas, tigers, elephant. I mean, there's a lot in there where they're just describing what he's looking at. Phileas Fogg has no interest. Passepartout has all the interest. He's eye-popping tourist, just loves to see the sights.
And he is so eye-popping tourist that he doesn't really even pay attention to where he's going, and he walks into a holy site. A Christian walking into a holy site there was a big deal. The government protected these sites. They didn't allow this form of sacrilege. And so he's just looking around thinking how beautiful everything is when all of a sudden people descend on him. They rip off his shoes because you are not allowed to have shoes in this place, and they start just thumping him. But Passepartout is a vigorous and strong man, and he gets up, starts thumping a few of them back, and he is able to escape, but without his shoes.
Without his shoes. And then I think Phileas Fogg kind of scolds him, like, this will not happen again.
Yeah. He could make him late.
But they gained 2 days on this steamer. They made really good time. So now that they're in Bombay, it's time to head to Calcutta.
Yes.
And now it's by train.
And this was one of the big things that had to happen technologically for this trip to work. The Suez Canal was one. Until the Suez Canal was made, you had to go down over the Horn of Africa, or you had to do like by camel over the Silk Road to travel. So the Suez Canal shortened the trip considerably. But the other major aspect was you had to get from one coast of India to the other coast of India. And that's a long ways. And so this railway that is now open, that was advertised as being open from Bombay to Calcutta, that's part of what makes this whole trip possible. And they get on the train and they meet some people. It's not just them. They meet a colonel. So another one of the military men is there with them, and they're traveling along as they go.
And he gets to play whist with the colonel, thankfully. Fix, the detective, does not come on this leg, interestingly, because he's been following them, and he says, oh, wait, a crime was just committed. And Passepartout, he has no idea. He barely makes the train with Phileas Fogg. He gets scolded a little bit by his master, calmly, obviously.
Calmly. Sternly.
But Fix is not on this train. But yes, they meet this colonel and have a great time until in the middle of nowhere, they're like, passengers off. They're like, why?
Yeah. I love this. They just lied. They're like, oh, it's obvious. You were supposed to get transport. There's like a certain number of miles. I can't remember how far it was that the track's not done.
50 miles. And they're like, yeah, the paper said it too early because the paper said it was, nope. So you got to come up with your own conveyance for 50 miles. And there's nothing around.
Well, there's not anymore. Somehow the other passengers had known about this. And so they are bolting to all the means of conveyance there have already been hired and bought up. But Phileas Fogg is not easily daunted, and he continues to look for a means of conveyance.
Initially, he's like, okay, we'll go on foot. He's not intimidated by that even, although that puts them behind time because it's not just the distance, it's distance at speed.
And Passepartout is worried about that because of the shoes.
He lost his shoes. I think he has some slippers he picked up somewhere, but they're not nice for walking. And the military man, the colonel, he wonders if Phileas Fogg even has a heart. I mean, this man seems very cold. Let's go with cold. He is very cold, but suddenly someone pops up. I don't remember how they learn of it. There's an elephant in town.
How great is this?
This is so cool.
The guy is not willing to sell the elephant. He's not willing to rent the elephant. He's not willing to sell the elephant for any price. Well, Phileas Fogg keeps naming higher and higher prices.
He is not a bargainer. He is as much money as it costs kind of guy. We're like, how about this much? How about that much? For an absurd amount of money, he buys this elephant to transport them 50 miles through the jungle.
Were you kind of counting in your head as you were reading this? As he drops 1,000 here, 2,000 here, 5,000 here?
I was. It comes out pretty close in the end. So he brought 20,000 pounds with him. I think he spends 2,000 on this elephant. 10%.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, wow, he's going to burn through this.
Yeah, he yes, he does.
Yeah.
But these actions actually start to convince Passepartout. They've left Bombay. This didn't disappear like a whim, like he thought. So he actually gets a little bit invested in this wager, the manservant now. So he's not so cool-headed about it as Phileas Fogg. He gets fired up when there's delays, and he wants this elephant and the spending of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. So he turns white when that's a lot of money for this elephant. But Phileas Fogg gets this animal, this elephant, to carry them through, and they invite the colonel with him. He's always very gentlemanly.
He is. He's generous to a fault, really.
Yeah, and when they ask Phileas Fogg about the delay in his schedule, he says it was foreseen. Apparently, all these minimum dates he assumes include any obstacle that could come up. It's solvable if you bring enough money.
If you bring enough money. And he brought a lot of money.
He brought a lot of money. That works.
He's spending a lot of money. This travel through the interior is really cool. They talk about the ride on the elephant. So the colonel and Phileas Fogg are in these howdahs on the side of it. These kind of saddlebags, I guess, is sort of the way to think of them. Not a terribly comfortable ride, but Passepartout is up on top with the driver, the guy who's guiding the elephant with them. And Passepartout is loving it, but is also horrendously uncomfortable because he is bouncing this way and that. I mean, it's not like there's a good saddle he's got or anything, but he does come to love the elephant. He loves giving it sugar, and I just love elephants. I've always loved elephants, and my understanding is they are incredibly smart, and when they are trained to be around people, they're really quite affectionate around people, and so it's like a massive dog, which is just awesome.
Oh, they say he's made of iron. It can go through anything, but he has a name. I just don't know how to say it. Kauni? Something like that. He's great. We love the elephant. But they make halfway about 25 miles in a day, and they kind of camp out that night. But I think it's the next day that they hear people going through. And it is described on the train that there's dangerous people around. So the British, and there is a lot about British rule in places around the world, and they had Britishified much of it, but there are places deep in the interior where that's not so. And the thuggies where murder is, it talks about the corpses you'd find along the way. I mean, these are dangerous places with some angry people, some for good reasons, some not so much, but they're basically trying to avoid anyone to meet. So they see this procession and they hide, but they see this whole, I mean, it's clearly a funeral. There's a dead body on a pall, with pallbearers, but there's also a woman staggering along. And the guide actually tells them this is called a sutti. It's a ritual sacrifice procession, and they say it's willing sacrifice. It's typically the wife of whoever was died, and they're burned in the morning. Turns out the guide knows a lot about this, though. She's not willing.
Yeah.
She's drugged and in a stupor, but he says, no, she's not willing. This is bad. And here's where Phileas Fogg says, suppose we save this woman. And I think the colonel is flabbergasted because he did not think Fogg had a heart. He says, though, I have yet 12 hours to spare. I can devote them to that. And the colonel says, you are a man of heart. And the response is, sometimes, when I have the time.
Yeah. And this was it's the next page is in the next chapter. This was the part I marked out where I started to see Phileas Fogg's heart and where Passepartout really sees it. So it says, as for Passepartout, he was ready for anything that might be proposed. His master's idea charmed him. He perceived a heart, a soul under the icy exterior. He began to love Phileas Fogg.
Because I understand this is a bold rescue. I mean, they are risking not just the wager, but life and limb. I mean, they could be killed in the rescue of this unknown woman. But the guide tells them that her name is Aouda. She was married to the Raja, who is the dead man that will be burned. But she didn't know him. She was actually educated in England, and this is a sadness. And so they agree to wait till nightfall. But then everything's still guarded. They actually try to chip into the pagoda where she's being kept, and the guards come back around the back, and nope, that won't work either. And here's where Passepartout sneaks off.
This is so great. Yeah, I love Passepartout. How can you not?
He's a man of
so
action.
great here. But the others don't know what he's doing or where he's going or what's happening, and they're still trying to save this woman. But things are advancing. The guards are not going to sleep. They can't come up with a plan.
So Phileas Fogg and the Colonel, they're still waiting in the dark. And the Colonel's like, well, there's no hope. There's no way in. And I like this line from Fogg. He says, the chance which now seems lost may present itself at the last moment. It's part of his rationalization and how he remains calm regardless of circumstance. This is how this man thinks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, again, things seem to be going very poorly, and all of a sudden smoke starts coming up, right? The fires start to be lit. This is happening, and this woman is about to die. We start to see the real personal bravery of Phileas Fogg. He's ready to just fall on them. I mean, he's ready to just attack them. Whatever cost to himself, he would obviously get killed. The Colonel stops him, grabs him, basically stops him from doing them. But then we see movement on the pyre.
The Raja, the dead man, comes to life. He sits up on top of this pyre, and everyone around is terrified. They're bowing and scraping and running and screaming. He grabs the woman, runs down to the Colonel and Phileas Fogg, and it's Passepartout. And he says, let's go.
Passepartout! What a heroic act. He dresses up as the dead man, crawls onto the pyre, and escapes with her. And they get away. Now, it doesn't take long before the people figure out what's happening, and then they start to chase them, but they're far enough ahead that they're in the clear, and they've got an elephant.
They've got an
So
elephant.
that helps.
Winner. And Fogg does say, well done to Passepartout.
He's so warm.
That is high praise from this man, if you think about it. Well done. So they continue on the elephant. The woman sleeps a long time. She was drugged. But eventually as she wakes up, they relay the story very humbly. They don't want to claim like, well, we saved you, you know.
Yeah. So Mr. Fogg is always courteous to everyone, and certainly to a lady who is now with him.
It's clear that she can't stay safely in India. They will come find her and take her back again. But she is immensely beautiful. There's this whole paragraph quote from, I forget who the author is, where it's describing just the beauty of a most beautiful woman. And you're like, this might apply to her.
The poet king Ukaf Adual. I don't know who that is.
He goes on and on.
Yeah.
Apparently, she's very pretty and very well bred. And she's very grateful. They just saved her life, literally saved her life. They continue on, and the plan is for her to come with them to, what comes next? Hong Kong.
Yeah, she has a relative in Hong Kong.
The next step of the journey, she used to have a relative who lives there. It'd be out of the country. She'd be safer there. So she continues with them. But when they get back to the railway, they have to get rid of the elephant. And Passepartout wonders ahead, what are we going to do with this elephant? Because he cares about it.
Yeah.
And it's apparently very expensive.
Oh, yeah.
What would you do with it? And here's where Phileas Fogg, he actually gives it to their guide as a gift. This is for you.
Their guide has stayed with them through this harrowing journey and this escape. They had some concerns that the guide might turn against them during the escape, but no, he was with them the whole way. And so his fortune is now made with this wonderful elephant.
Yeah, it's funny because the train went into the interior from Bombay and it connects before the city on the other side so they can continue the rest of the way to Calcutta. So it's just this gap in the middle. Years and years ago, we went to Glacier National Park, and there's the Going to the Sun Road. I can't remember. Have you been there?
No, I haven't.
It goes up the mountain, like through the cliff and then down the other side. And so we went in May, and it turns out the tippy top was still covered in snow. So we went all the way up on one side and back down and all the way around and up the other side. That's like this train. You can't go through the middle unless you have an elephant. I bet if we'd had an elephant in Montana, we could have done that.
Next time.
Next time. So it turns out, even with this delay, and they saved this woman, they're on time to catch the steamer for Hong Kong by 5 hours. So he lost his 2 days, right? He had this 2-day gain when they came into India, but no regrets. They're doing okay.
Yeah, he's good. All foreseen. Well, they are planning to catch this steamer, but other things are about to transpire. When they get to Calcutta, unfortunately, they are accosted by the police. The police come to them and say, "You need to come with us." Again, Phileas is unflappable, and he goes with the police. He does ask, "May this young lady come with us?" They say, "Certainly," and the three of them head to the police court.
So they assume the crime was the saving of Iota, the woman. They had forgotten about Passepartout's shoes.
Yeah, his sacrilege.
Because the judge says, "Here are the desecrator's very shoes." And he shows Passepartout. He's like, "Those are mine." So they admit their crime. And they are sentenced with jail time.
Yeah. So this is Detective Fix. It is Detective Fix that has passed this on ahead because he knew they had to go through Calcutta. And again, he's trying to delay them because once they get out of jurisdiction, he can't arrest them. So he's waiting for his warrant and he thinks he's got him because jail time.
Well, turns out if you bring a whole ton of money, no matter. Phileas Fogg, calmly, posts bail at once. And Passepartout gets his shoes back, and he's commenting on how expensive they are now. More than 1,000 pounds a piece, these shoes, because of the bail price.
So much money.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess that's the way bail works, is that the idea is that if you leave, you don't get your money back, and that's meant to stop you. So to Phileas Fogg, this was just him buying his freedom. So here's the bail price, and he calmly gets aboard the steamer for Hong Kong.
Yeah, and Detective Fix is getting nervous at all the spending because the reward when he arrests the robber, I think it's a percentage of what's remaining. So every big chunk of money Phileas Fogg spends is less money for him once he finally gets him. So the Calcutta to Hong Kong is another steamer. It says only 3,500 miles. That's longer than the east to west distance of the U.S. I mean, that's a long ways.
Yeah.
So another 10 to 12 days. But again, it was foreseen. This was the plan. And they make the steamer, which is key. And throughout this time, Iota gets to know Fogg and Passepartout. She's so grateful. And she says she's easy to please anyway, just a personality. And yeah, she's looking for her relative in Hong Kong. And Fogg is so reassuring. He tells her everything will be mathematically arranged.
How sweet.
It's reassuring to him.
He's very soothed. She seems to be too, though. I mean, he is taking care of her. And so the journey Detective Fix is still hanging out with Passepartout. He's still giving him drinks and talking with him and being friendly with him because he still sees this as an inn, but he hasn't given away who he is yet.
He isn't, but Passepartout is not dumb. He's starting to wonder, who is this guy following us around and why? But he assumes that Fix is a spy from the Reform Club sent to get in their way, to waylay it, to mess up the wagers. So Passepartout kind of laughs at him. They really confuse one another because they think the other one knows things. It's funny. Hong Kong is important to Detective Fix because it's the last British ground where the warrant could come through and he could just arrest Fogg. Anywhere else on this trip, and he'd have to get an extradition warrant. It's off British property. That's the wrong word, but
yeah, it's not in the jurisdiction of the crown at that point. And extradition has never been easy to do.
He also wonders about the woman, like, where'd she come from?
Yeah, what is this? He's so confused.
He's often, yes. He doesn't know what's going on. But the steamer stops at Singapore to refill coal. And it's interesting, the woman, Iota, she wants to see things, and Fogg goes with her. So before, he'd always stay below, he'd had no interest in looking. I think he needs that person to pull him up and out, right?
He does.
Passepartout, yes. Passepartout buys mangoes, and they're beautiful. She enjoys the mangoes. They look at buildings and the parks, and it's funny because Passepartout is bothered by any slowness. He is fired up about this wager, like, let's go. And Phileas Fogg is unconcerned.
Yep. He will wait on what has to happen.
Yeah, after their stop at Singapore, there's bad weather and bad winds. And yeah, Passepartout's getting upset because of the slowness. He actually lends a hand on the ship. He helps the crew because he wants it to go faster. Fix is stoked because it means more time in Hong Kong, more likely that his warrant will arrive. And Phileas Fogg is always Phileas Fogg. He's just calm. You know what I thought of was, we've talked about Jocko podcasts before.
Mhm.
And again, there's tons of them I haven't heard, but they're great. He is great. I think he was talking to a sniper once a long time ago, and they were talking about how you stay calm in stressful situations. And the recommendation was that you keep your voice calm. Because if your voice is calm, the rest of you stays calm. And the example was the pilot that landed the plane on the Hudson River. And they're like, we are landing on the Hudson. And they're like, the airport people are like, what? What are you doing? We are landing on the Hudson.
Calmly.
Phileas
Calmly.
Fogg. He's got this nailed down.
He does.
We are calm.
See, I thought you were going to make the Jocko reference of normal face.
Oh, yeah, that too.
So Jocko plays a game, or used to play a game with his children called Normal Face, where you keep your face normal despite provocation. And he would talk about, he would get like pool noodles and things and like smack them. And they loved it. They thought it was the greatest game ever. His kids thought it was awesome. But normal face has definitely entered our day-to-day parlance.
He's nailed that too. Phileas Fogg was the OG normal face. He's got it. But with its bad weather and winds, it says they're like 20 hours behind, nearly a day. This is a problem. But when they land in Hong Kong, twist, the Yokohama steamer, the steamer that's going to go from Hong Kong to Japan, has been delayed. So they thought they were going to miss it. Passepartout was all fired up. Oh my gosh, the whole thing's off. It's all broken. We've lost. Nope, the steamer has been delayed due to repairs. This is great news for them. It's not leaving till tomorrow morning. It says Fogg descends from the steamer mathematically. I think that means he's counting his steps.
Probably.
Because he does that. And he goes to find the Ayuda's relative.
Mm-hmm.
But turns out that he has actually moved on years ago.
Yeah. He made a ton of money, was very wealthy, and he moved back to Europe, of all places. I think he's in Holland, so not in Hong Kong. And Ayuda is understandably disappointed and worried. She can't go back or else she'll be killed. And Mr. Fogg steps up and says, nope, don't worry about it. You're coming with us.
Yep, to Europe, all the way around. Because she definitely knows about the wager. I mean, I get the sense that they talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
He's very open about it. So Passepartout is looking around Hong Kong. You know, he goes and books their cabins on the Yokohama is the name of the ship.
The Carnatic. Yokohama is where they're going.
You're right. The Carnatic is the name of the ship, but it's going to go to Yokohama, Japan. But to him, Hong Kong seems a lot like other cities where British have rule. So he's seen a bunch of them now, but there are some things that stick out. Like, I think it's this town where when old men are 80 or older, they get to wear yellow, and he finds that very funny.
Yeah. Says he can't say why. He just thinks it's hilarious.
It's charming. There you go. But Fix gets to Hong Kong, and there's still no warrant. It hasn't caught up with him. And so he decides he's going to be honest with Passepartout.
In a bar.
In a bar. And it turns out not just a bar, an opium bar. It goes into the details of opium, which is sad and interesting.
Yeah, so Mr. Fit, and they're again talking at cross purposes because Passepartout still thinks that he's a representative and spy of the Reform Club, so he's making knowing statements in that direction. And Mr. Fix is trying to say, no, your boss is a robber. And his assumption here is that he believes Passepartout is honest. And so once Passepartout understands what his boss is, he'll assist him and he'll help him. Well, Passepartout is devoted, loyal, and doesn't believe it for a moment. Now, he's several drinks in at this point and starting to get a little woozy, and Fix kind of slyly slides an opium pipe across the table at him, and the combination of opium and alcohol, and Passepartout is out.
Which is a problem, because when he booked the cabins, turns out the Carnatic that's going to Yokohama isn't leaving tomorrow morning like they were initially informed. It's leaving that night. And he was supposed to go back and tell his master. And instead, he's passed out. There's a couch at these places because apparently just passing out silly is commonplace. And so he's stuck there. Fix leaves him. And Fogg does not know that the ship is leaving.
Fix does pay the bill. So that's something.
That's something. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Fogg and Ayuda get back to the hotel. There's no Passepartout, which is weird, but okay. But then they go to the dock in the morning, and the ship is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's already departed for Japan. And the lady's upset, and Fogg says, "It's an accident, madam, nothing more." And the next one is a week away, and that will not do. She says, "Nope, there are other vessels." And so he goes looking for one. It's 1,600 miles to Yokohama, and he finds a ship, a small one, but the captain won't do it. He says, "Nope, can't do it." But he could get to Shanghai, maybe.
And Fix is part of this too. But he comes up and in his sort of sneaky way says, "Oh, I missed the boat too. I was supposed to be on it." And so Fix is there with him during this conversation. And yeah, he meets the sailor who, again, can't get to Yokohama, but can get to Shanghai. And the conversation is, well, what good is that? And the answer is that the Carnatic has a route. It's got a path it's following. So if they can get to Shanghai in time, they can get reestablished in the Carnatic and be on their way. So they can catch up before they get to Yokohama.
Yeah, it'll go through Yokohama. So if they can get to Shanghai in time, they will get to Yokohama like they would have initially. And so there's no Passepartout. He doesn't show up. Fogg kind of goes looking for him, but they can't find him anywhere. But they take this ship. Fogg, Ayuda, and Detective Fix. They take this ship to Shanghai.
And again, we see the generosity of Mr. Fogg. He's going. This is going to happen. And he knows that Fix at least states he needs to get there too. So he invites him along. And Fix, through this, starts to feel guilty of taking advantage of the hospitality of the guy he's really just trying to arrest. He's waiting for his warrant. He needs his warrant, but he doesn't have it yet. And now, once they leave Shanghai, they're out of his jurisdiction. But he is not going to let him get away, so he joins him.
Yeah, and Mr. Fogg incentivizes the pilot. He says, "I do not need to advise you to use all possible speed." I mean, they are hauling to Shanghai to get there on time. Turns out there's a squall, there's bad weather, it's uncomfortable, but they are going as fast as they possibly can. And Fogg is awesome. He acts like this typhoon is all part of the plan. It's been accounted for. It's been foreseen. And it's funny. They get to Shanghai. It's within sight, and they see the steamer leaving for Yokohama. The one that they were racing to make in Shanghai is outbound. And Fogg calmly tells the captain, "Signal distress." They half-mast the boat. They shoot a cannon over the bow to make this large steamer stop for them. And he gets on board. It's awesome.
It is awesome. And now they can get to America. But something else happens first, right?
Yeah, because it has more stops. It's heading first to Yokohama. It's heading to Yokohama, Japan. And this next chapter title is good. It's in which Passepartout finds out that even at the Antipodes, it is convenient to have some money in one's pocket.
And do you remember what the Antipodes are?
They're opposite points.
This goes back to Herodotus, the 5 zones. So the people on the other side of the world walking upside down. See, all the stories tie together.
They do. It's true. So it turns out Passepartout woke up stumbling and foggy, but he was yelling the name of the ship. Part of him knew where he needed to go. He stumbled onto the deck. It says the sailors are used to this.
Yeah, and he had tickets in his pocket. He had engaged 3 berths.
So the sailors are used to people stumbling on the deck drunk, sadly, and chuck him in his cabin. So he made the boat, and he assumes that Mr. Fogg and Ayuda made the boat because they had tickets. But he never told them. He wasn't there to tell them it was leaving that night. So he finds out the next day that they're not on the ship. So he is alone in Yokohama with nothing. He has no money. He's got nothing. But as we recall, Passepartout is a man of skills, a jack of all trades. He has been a vagrant before.
Yeah.
So he's not as bad off as you or I would be.
No, and he does some very practical things. So, for example, when he was on the ship, he ate and ate and ate because since he had berths, meals were covered on the ship where they were not going to be covered when he got off it. That was great. And then, yeah, he starts trying to do different things to make money when he gets to Yokohama. He tries to sing but it says that maybe it was too early in the morning and nobody was really interested in him waking them up, and he doesn't make any money out of that.
Yeah, he's there a day, the rest of a day, and he sees Buddhist temples and cedar groves and beautiful architecture, but mostly he's just roaming around the street and he sleeps on the street. Yeah, in the morning he's like, I can't sing yet. But he decides that if he's going to be living on the street, he doesn't really need the clothes he has. So he actually sells his clothes. I like this, it becomes a verb. He's Japanesed. He gets an old coat and he fits on the street better, and he can eat. He eats at a tea room, so he gets something in his stomach. But his overall plan is to get to San Francisco. That's the next stop on the journey, because right now they're about as far from home as you get. The Antipodes is opposite. So I think the literal opposite is somewhere in the ocean, but as far as land goes, he's kind of there. But he plans to offer himself as a cook or a servant. It says it's 4,700 miles across the Pacific. It's a long way to go on a boat.
Big ocean.
Whew. But on his way to the docks, he sees a sign, a placard for this acrobatic troupe. It's for the long noses. It's interesting. If you think about it, Barnum at the time and like traveling circuses and sideshows, these would have been a thing. And here, he's a foreigner.
Yeah.
He's in Japan.
They love that he's a Frenchman. I mean, Passepartout is a little bit insulted by this to begin with, but the guy's honest. He says, look, in France, they get people from Japan to do their circuses. Here, we get Frenchmen. And so if you're willing to join, yeah, you can do it.
Well, first he offers himself as a servant. And I like the guy. I forget his name, but he says, I already have two who are obedient and faithful and have never left me. And he holds out his own arms and hands. It's like the original, like, who has two thumbs and doesn't need a servant? This guy. But he is hired for this. I mean, basically a circus as a clown. And he gets to be the base of the human pyramid. And the long noses are interesting. Where they it's like this reference to the car of Juggernaut. Have you heard this reference?
No, and I was trying to visualize the long noses, and I don't know that I got a really clear picture out of it.
They put a wood nose. It said it was 5 to 10 feet long on the noses and they have wings. And the car of the Juggernaut, it's a festival where it's a chariot festival. And the biggest one is over 40 feet tall, but it became this metaphor where the wheels of the chariot would basically churn through you, whether you were good or bad. It didn't matter philosophically who you were.
Okay.
It's actually used in Dickens,
Really?
which is interesting. Yeah, car of Juggernaut. But this circus has all kinds of jugglers and gymnasts. There's fire breathers. They use candles and smokes. There's mirrors. I mean, this is a cool circus. I would go see this. But Passepartout, is the base of a human pyramid, and there's these balanced wood nose things, which I don't even know how you do that. But in a pivotal moment, the human monument was shattered like a castle built of cards. And it says it's his fault. Yeah. It's Passepartout's fault because he's at the base and he runs because he sees his master. He sees Phileas Fogg. They're shocked to see each other, but they're off to the steamer to America just in time. It says that Passepartout keeps his wings and nose.
I'm so excited they met up again. It's great.
It is. It says that Phileas Fogg, he caught that steamer to Yokohama after they signaled distress. And they check the list when they get to Yokohama and learn that Passepartout was on board. So they're looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it says he doesn't know if it's chance or presentiment, but they find him at this circus. It's great.
There's another thing that made me laugh when I read it. So the Carnatic, that steamer that they were trying to get on, that was the one that Passepartout was on, and that was the one that Fix was supposed to be on. And I believe he discovers here in Yokohama that the Carnatic had his warrant. Mm-hmm. It had come, and if he had been on the Carnatic, he could have gotten the warrant and arrested Phileas Fogg. But now we're in Japan, Yokohama, where he doesn't have jurisdiction, and now he's getting on a steamer across to the United States where he doesn't have jurisdiction. It's a hard day for Detective Fix.
It is, although it could have been worse. Passepartout sees him at some point, and he attacks him.
Oh, pummels him.
Fisticuffs. But he doesn't rat him out to his master.
No.
Because he figures, no, we're gonna deal with this. He doesn't believe Fogg is the robber anyway, but they are not friends anymore. It says on the 9th day out from Yokohama that is halfway around the world.
Okay.
And it is at 52 of 80 days. And it's very clever how it describes it, because if they'd gone straight around the world, London to London in a perfect circle, it'd be about 12,000 miles. How they have to do it is actually 26,000 miles, because they have to go down and around. The second half is a lot more of a straight line.
Yeah.
So here at 52 of 80 days, they are halfway.
The other thing about the encounter between Passepartout and Fix that I think is important is that Fix is honest with him again and says, yep, this is who I am. I think your master's guilty. But here's the deal. We now share a common goal. I can't do anything with him when he's in America. It is in my interest to go as fast as possible from here on out until we get back to London. So I will take care of him. I will protect him. I will support him. I will try and make the speed as quickly as possible. And this is part of, I think, why Passepartout doesn't rat him out here.
Yeah.
Because they have a shared goal, at least temporarily. It's a bizarre alliance, but it kind of works.
Kind of works. And it's funny when Passepartout attacks him, there's some Americans standing by and they start betting on the fight. And it says that this fight proved the great superiority of French over English pugilistic skill. Pugilistic meaning boxing, right?
Fighting.
Fist fighting with fists. I actually looked up the Latin root because I just thought it was interesting. The root word is pugnus, I don't know how you say it. And it gives us other fighting related words like pugnacious, eager to fight, and impugn, to challenge or attack verbally.
There you go.
Which I did not know. So the other fun thing that happens in the middle of the ocean is Passepartout's watch is right again. He wouldn't sell it in Japan. He said he'd rather starve than sell his watch.
Yeah.
This thing is of great importance to him. It doesn't note AM and PM. So suddenly his watch is right again. And this line is great. The rogue, he's talking about Fix. The rogue told me a lot of stories about meridians, the sun and the moon. I was sure that the sun would someday regulate itself by my watch.
I love the confidence.
And so on December 3rd, they enter the Bay of the Golden Gate, and they are net equal on time in Fogg's journal. They've lost some time, they've gained some time, so when they pull into the Bay of the Golden Gate, San Francisco, they are net equal. And I actually looked up this Bay of the Golden Gate because there's no way the Golden Gate Bridge was there, and I was curious about the name.
Oh, yeah.
So in 1846, U.S. Army officer and explorer John C. Fremont named the strait. It's so Chrysopole, Greek for Golden Gate.
Yeah.
And it's named after the Golden Horn in Istanbul or
Okay.
Constantinople. Ooh, there's a song about that.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea is it was this Golden Gate to trade with, well, everybody, but, out of Asia. It was going to be this golden opportunity, the riches and the affluence of this port. So, yeah, really cool. And well before the bridge or the gold rush or anything. Well, I mean, the gold rush was
49,
soon
but,
after that, but...
That's amazing. I had no idea. That's really interesting.
Bay of the Golden Gate.
I
Very
love
cool.
that.
And so when they land there are ships, there's clippers, there's steamers, there's stuff, products from around the world, from the islands, from Mexico, South America, all kinds of things there. And they've been on this boat so long. Passepartout's just happy to be there. He's in America. He does this fancy cartwheel and he falls through the deck because the deck planks are worm-eaten and he scares the birds at the docks. It's a funny detail.
The other thing I love about Passepartout when he gets to America is he just wants to buy guns.
Yeah.
He wants all the guns. Can I have some money to buy guns?
Gonna arm up. He wants Enfield rifles and Colt revolvers.
As many as he can get.
America. I think he's a little disappointed in how civilized San Francisco is, though. It's too orderly, and he wasn't expecting that. He was expecting, like, outlaws, Wild West.
Mhm.
But he does not get that in San Francisco. But I'd say the overarching American stereotype here is kind of the rashness of Americans, and they're hilarious. There's this political brawl in the streets. Fogg gets involved in a political brawl because it's just this mass of people. They have a day to waste till the train leaves.
He's trying to imagine what this election could possibly be for.
The presidency?
Is this a Supreme Court justice?
Something big.
A senator? No, it's a justice of the peace. It is a local judge.
And this guy smashes his hat, and he is upset, and they exchange names in a future duel.
That's right. Colonel Stamp Proctor. That's the villain right there.
That guy. In future, and Fogg says, because he has to leave on this train soon, he says, I will come back to America to find him. It would not be right for an Englishman to permit himself to be treated in that way without retaliating. So he's got an honor code.
Yeah.
The other thing that's very American is that there's free food. Wherever they go, there's free food, and you only pay for the drinks. Passepartout thinks that's very American. Eat all you want, but you pay for drinks. Talks a lot about American energy and all that. It's really a fun telling. Like the flavor is very different.
Yeah. And it's a Frenchman writing through the eyes of an Englishman. It's a fascinating way of
about America,
seeing the youth of our country at this point.
Yeah, and they talk about the railway, because it's still pretty new there too, where it's unbroken, is from ocean to ocean. And so the country is united by an uninterrupted metal ribbon, which measures no less than 3,786 miles. So before they had that, it says the trip across the U.S. would take 6 months at best. Now, 7 days. I mean, it is a shocking game changer.
Oh, it is incredible. And his description of it is wonderful. He talks about really the epic scope of this, where this had to go. He talks about, the bonuses that had to be paid to get through certain hard parts of it, the techniques, what mountains they decided to go over or around or through if they really needed to. It is a tremendously impressive and romantic thing. This road to combine and hook together the two oceans. I mean, it's amazing.
It is.
And without it, Phileas Fogg would have been in trouble.
He wouldn't have done it. This is what made it even a wager worth taking. And so Passepartout gets annoyed because it's December, and they're due back on December 21st. He's like, "Why didn't we wait for better weather?" Terrible time to make a bet. So there's snow on the track. There's also buffalo. It said there's like a 12,000 head herd of buffalo just stuck on the tracks.
Wouldn't that be amazing to see?
So many. It says it's like a movable dam where it just ebbs and flows. And he wants to kind of shoot into it and get them moving. They're like, no, that won't work. You just wait. And it says, Phileas Fogg had the most reason of all to be in a hurry, but he remained in his seat and waited philosophically until it should please the buffaloes to get out of the way. He's got the right mindset for this. Oh, man, it would drive me crazy.
There are some funny and wonderful things that happen on the train. Passepartout gets roped into a missionary speech, and he's too polite to leave, and so he's the last one in the train. But it's just a funny chapter.
It's Mormon as they go through Salt Lake City, and the guy at the end is like, "Sir, you in?" He's like, "No." He walks up. It's very funny, actually. But they get to Ogden, Utah, and Passepartout says it's a strikingly American town. Here's where he quotes Victor Hugo, the author's friend, "The somber sadness of right angles," and it talks about the preference for symmetry is iconic of Anglo-Saxons.
Okay.
Funny comment to be made in Ogden, Utah. But I mean, a lot of our country is very right angled. So
Yeah, we've planned a lot of our streets and our cities, and I mean, they're relatively new. And so, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, they talk about the details of the Great Salt Lake, and it's a dead lake. It's full of salt. It says a quarter of the weight of it is solid matter. And he talks about the dimensions. So Jules Verne is so cool in the details he inserts into, but as part of the story, I don't think he dwells on any of them too long. They're tucked in here, and he makes it part of it, and they're phenomenal. This is where they're going through the Rocky Mountains, and there's one long tunnel, 14,000 feet in length, to traverse the Rockies. That's crazy. Can you imagine making that? Wow.
Yeah, incredible. And it is part of the charm of this book is that you really do feel like you're traveling along the way. And, Phileas may not be looking around, but we are as readers, and we get to see and experience some of these things that are going by.
And it changes dramatically.
Oh, yeah. I think my favorite episode on the train, though, is the bridge coming up. The train stops and Passepartout runs up to the front to kind of figure out, hey, what's going on? And it turns out that there's a bridge that the engineer just doesn't think the train is going to make it over. It can't make it over, and so they're going to have to go back and lose all this time. And Passepartout is just heartbroken, but there are Americans around with ideas.
Well, first it says that the bridge is in ruinous condition. It's a suspension bridge, and that rash as Americans usually are, when they are prudent, there is good reason for it. This bridge is a mess. But yes, they are gung-ho.
And one engineer felt, you know what? I think we could get across it if we just went faster. If we backed up, got a real good head of speed, we'd barely touch the bridge. We could practically jump over this chasm. So why don't we do that? I think it's got a 50% chance of success.
And they're like, no, 80.
80. Definitely 80.
Definitely 80.
It's got to work. And Passepartout is not feeling very comfortable about these odds, but he also has an idea that he tries to speak up, but nobody's willing to listen.
No, they're like, what? Are you afraid?
His idea is that, well, even if we're going to do this, shouldn't the people just like get up and walk across it first so that we're not on the train?
Seems reasonable.
But they don't listen. But my favorite part about this is the guy trying to talk about or trying to convince Passepartout. Doubtless, urged Passepartout, we can pass, but perhaps it would be more prudent. What? Prudent? Cried Colonel Proctor, whom this word seemed to excite prodigiously. At full speed, don't you see? At full speed. I just love the idea that faster. Don't you get it? Faster.
When Passepartout gets on board, he says, I will show these people that a Frenchman can be as American as they. Faster. It works.
It worked. Well, not for the bridge.
No.
So it crashes behind them, but they do get across.
Yeah. They get across. Wait, did you say Colonel Stamp? It's the guy.
Whoa, no. They have been trying to hide the colonel from Phileas Fogg because both Fix and Passepartout know that he will engage in a duel with this man, and that will slow things down. If he loses, he'll be dead, and if he wins, he'll be in prison. And so they just cannot let him do this. And Aouda doesn't want it to happen either because she's looking out for him, and so they come up with a plan, and their plan is whist. It turns out Detective Fix is pretty good. He is a sharp player at this game, and it turns out that Aouda knows how to play whist as well. So they do a three-hand thing. They don't let Passepartout play. The three of them play with a dummy hand, and it seems to be working for quite some time. Fix and Passepartout also have plans for if Proctor shows up. One of them will, Passepartout is going to just beat him up. That's his plan.
He's good at that.
Fix, who had taken a punch from this guy, says, well, I will take the duel onto me instead of onto Mr. Fogg. So they're doing everything they can to try and defend him. Well, of course, as you would expect, he comes in the door and in just a very rude, insulting way, he makes comments about the play. I would play a diamond.
Rude.
It was totally unacceptable.
So they're going to have this duel. They're going to get off, and the train conductor's like, nope, can't stop here. We're running behind. But you know where you could duel?
Yeah, we've got a car in the back.
It's so perfect because it's long and it's narrow. They clear it out. So Fix tries to take it. No, it's going to be Fogg and the colonel guy from the street. They're prepping for a duel, and Passepartout's waiting outside with his heart cracking. I mean, it's so tense. But then there's savage cries from outside, and this train is under attack by savage Indians. The Sioux Indians are attacking this train. It comments that all the passengers are armed, but so are the Indians.
I love that all the passengers are armed.
And so the train it needs to stop because if it goes past this upcoming fort, they won't have any help for miles and miles. Mm-hmm. And so Fogg says it will be stopped. And Passepartout says, nope, let me do it.
Yeah, I got this.
He goes underneath the train cars
yes,
to the engine and detaches it from the rest of the cars. So the rest of the cars eventually slow down. The soldiers from the fort hear the cries. They come help. The Sioux run off. So that's the happy part. But there are 3 people missing, and one of them is Passepartout.
Yeah. And I said that earlier in the book I had trouble liking Phileas Fogg, but as the book progresses, I'm liking him more and more. He shows the heart to the beggar woman. He is willing to spend time to save Aouda. He is showing generosity to all these people as he's going on. He gives away an elephant. And here, he simply does his duty. The chapter is in which Phileas Fogg simply does his duty. He will not leave Passepartout behind. And so he goes to the commander of the base and says, hey, I need men. Will you come with me to save him? But the commander is very practical. He says, well, I can't leave this base unguarded. It just wouldn't be right. And Phileas Fogg says, well, then I will go alone. And the commander ends up saying, nope, we'll send some people with you. So Phileas Fogg...
Well, they volunteer.
Yeah, all 50 of them. So he just has to pick, 20, 30
yeah.
to go with him. But he asks Detective Fix to stay behind with Aouda. And this is wonderful because Fix does not want to leave Fogg. He believes Fogg is just going to disappear and he's going to lose everything. But he has also been the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness from Mr. Fogg throughout this. And so what he does is he accedes. He says, okay. He bows his head and he stays with the woman and he kicks himself like an idiot the whole time, but he does it. And I think that says something about the character of the detective.
Yeah, well, they end up waiting, him and Aouda, through the night. They're just tense. They have no news. But in the distance, in the morning, they can see Fogg. They can see Passepartout and the remaining men that were taken. They all come back safely. But the problem is the train left. It had no reason to wait. Mm-hmm. It's gone. The deal is off. The wager is lost. Even a day made them too late to catch the steamer bound for Europe. Fogg is impassive, and Passepartout feels so guilty.
Yeah, you should have let me behind. You should have left me with the Indians.
But here's where Fix kind of steps up with a solution, because he was sitting there all night, and this someone, I don't know who, as man, had offered him a sledge, a train sledge. This to me is so kooky. Are these real things? It's like a sled with a sail on it, like a boat that goes on the train tracks.
Now, as I read this was a little bit different than that. The movie, it's definitely that. They're on the train tracks and it's a sail that goes on it. This, though, seemed to take advantage of the fact that they're on the plains and it's icy and snowy.
Oh.
This, I think, was an actual sledge that was fitted up like a schooner with sails and a rudder, and they were going just across the plains. And it took me a little while to kind of figure that out, because having grown up seeing the movie, I was thinking about the train.
I was totally thinking about the train tracks.
I think this one's going cross country, just across the fields.
So it turns out as good as December.
It turns out as good as December. I think that was the foreshadowing kind of behind.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because he talks about, like, when they get to the river's not going to be an issue because it's frozen. They can just go across it. So I think he basically goes in a straight line cross country driven by the wind. And I had never heard of these kinds of things before. Jules Verne seemed to pay attention to detail, so I'm guessing these were a real thing.
It goes fast.
He's talking 40 miles an hour.
Yeah. That's very fast. I mean, I think I went 20 on a jet ski once, and that was scary. Like,
yeah.
40 just out on the plain in the wind, in the cold, like both cold, uncomfortable, and kind of terrifying. That's really fast. But Passepartout says with his natural buoyancy of spirits, he begins to hope again, and that he will never forget that Fogg came for him, came back for him. He potentially threw away the winning of his wager to come save him.
Yeah. He had to, though, because that was such a heroic act on Passepartout's part. Climbing under a moving train.
I think a lot of choices are like that, where it's like Diggory, Magician's Nephew, who could not have decently done any different. If he didn't do it, he's terrible. And if he did do it, he's a hero. There's really no middle ground.
Agreed. Absolutely. Yes.
And at this point, Passepartout, he no longer regrets not seeing things, seeing the sights. He's like, no, we're not here to look at stuff. We're here to win. He's game on. But they get to Omaha. And Omaha, apparently, there's a lot of trains.
Mm-hmm.
There's trains from Omaha to Chicago, to New York. They're on them, they're going. And it says that they see the Hudson River in New York.
Hope is back. Passepartout's hoping. And they go, and they go, and they're trying to get to New York. They get to New York. The China, that's the boat, for Liverpool had started 3/4 of an hour before.
45 minutes!
They miss it.
Oh.
They miss the boat.
By 45 minutes. That's painful.
This next part is kind of awesome.
So this is, December 12th. They have to be back in London at the club on December 21st. And Mr. Fogg, he looks around. There are no boats to be had for any sum. So they actually get some sleep. And the only one who actually sleeps is Mr. Fogg. I've gone to Mr. because then I don't mix up Phileas and Phineas. Yep. It's been a good switch.
I've been doing similar. Good move.
But in the morning, he finds a boat. The captain's name is Speedy. That's fortuitous.
Good omen.
But he's not going to Liverpool. He's not going anywhere near Liverpool. He's going to Bordeaux. Nowhere else, only to Bordeaux. He won't change his destination. And Fogg is not much of a negotiator. So he says, okay, fine. I'll give you 2,000 apiece. These are dollars now.
Yeah.
2,000 apiece.
And that helped me as I was doing my calculations.
Yes.
And it'll be important here because the numbers, again, think 4 to 5 times as much. So that makes it make more sense in my head.
So that's a lot of money for Captain Speedy going to Bordeaux. He doesn't have to change anything other than take these 4 people along with him. And Detective Fix still can't believe how much money is spent. He's sure the percentage that he's going to get now is hardly anything. I mean, all the money's being spent away. But they get on this boat and they're off into the ocean and we see a captain step on deck. But it's not Captain Speedy. It is Phileas Fogg. He has bribed the crew and commandeered the boat.
He's turned pirate.
Turns out he's quite the sailor.
Yeah, and there's an implication in here that this might be how he made his fortune. That he was actually a sailor. Because we don't know where he got all his money, but he had a lot of money. And he's really good at this boat. He knows what he's doing, and he's commanding, and he's stoking the furnaces, and this
Full
steamer
steam.
is working its way across.
Yeah, Passepartout, it says, thought Mr. Fogg's maneuver simply glorious. He loves Pirate Fogg.
The captain is going nuts in the hole down below. Passepartout is bringing him food and things, but he's like watching his hands when he does it so he doesn't get like bitten. I mean, the captain is not okay with this at all.
No. So it is 3,000 miles to Liverpool, and time is running out here. So they are full steam the whole way, and they do hit some bad winds. And because they're full steam and they're running against the wind, they're actually running out of fuel. And at some point, Fogg says, go get Captain Speedy. Passepartout just, are you serious?
Yeah, really?
You want to talk to that guy? Fogg offers to buy his boat, and he talks it through with him that says, I actually want to burn it.
Yeah.
Just the upper decks.
Yeah, you can the hull, the engine, I'm not going to burn those. And the guy says, no, this thing is worth $50,000. And Fogg says, I'll give you 60. And Speedy takes it.
Dollars, not pounds.
Yeah, that helped me a lot.
Yeah, so it's about half the amount that he brought with him.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with 10,000 pounds-ish for easy math. He is just throwing away this money, and it's a good deal for the captain.
Yeah, because he gets the hull and the engine afterwards. He can replace the decking. He can replace all the wood. He can replace all of that. The value of the boat is in the engine and the iron. Fogg is committed. Yeah. And so they start ripping up the boards, taking out the mast. Anything that can burn is going into the boilers.
I love that Captain, the Speedy, yeah, he calls him Captain Fogg. He says, Captain Fogg, you got something of the Yankee about you. I assume he meant it as a compliment.
I do too.
But they keep running into bad weather. They're not making to Liverpool in the time they need. But they do get close enough to an Irish port called Queenstown. And here's where Fogg changes his plan. They realize, oh, there's mail trains that run from Queensport to Dublin to Liverpool. He could get off sooner and be on a quicker train and still get to Liverpool in time.
And fast boats from Dublin to Liverpool. So quick train, quick boat. And so he can get there quickly. And that's what he does with his little crew around him.
So he makes it happen. They make it to Liverpool. It says it's 11:40 a.m. on December 21st, the final day. So it's 6 hours from Liverpool where they're at to London where he needs to go. It's before noon, and he has to be at the Reform Club at 8:45 p.m. that evening. The quote is, "But at this moment, Fix came up, put his hand on Mr. Fogg's shoulder, and showing his warrant said, you are really Phileas Fogg? I am. I arrest you in the Queen's name." He was back on English soil. The warrant was good again. He is immediately arrested.
It hurts.
Yeah.
The next chapter starts with the line, Phileas Fogg was in prison. He's in prison. He's there. He's stuck. He can't get out. There's nothing he can do. Money can't help him in this setting. He's stuck.
It describes him. He's still him. Says he's motionless, calm, without apparent anger. But it says that if he's honest, he's ruined. Okay, he watches his watch as the time ticks away, in which he could still make it to London. So if he's honest, the wager's done. He's ruined. And if he was a knave, if he was the robber, he's caught. There's no good ending at this point. But as he watches these minutes tick away on his watch, Fix staggers in. I mean, the man is breathless and stuttering.
"Sir," he stammered, "sir, forgive me. A most unfortunate resemblance. Robber arrested 3 days ago. You are free." This next part's pretty great. Phileas Fogg was free. He walked to the detective, looked him steadily in the face, and with the only rapid motion he had ever made in his life, or which he ever would make, drew back his arms, and with the precision of a machine, knocked Fix down. He punches him.
That seems right.
I would agree.
He is free, and Passepartout's there, Aouda's there. The train doesn't leave till 3 p.m. It's a 6-hour trip to get to London. They're on their way as fast as they can go, but when they arrive in London, all the clocks are striking 10 to 9, 8:50 p.m.
Having made the tour of the world, he was behindhand 5 minutes. He had lost the wager. There is a footnote here. This is the only footnote in the book that I found. The footnote is regarding that the clock striking 10 minutes before the hour. It says, "A somewhat remarkable eccentricity on the part of London clocks," from the translator.
That's true. I had not thought about that.
Yeah, why would they ring 10 minutes before the hour? But
it was weird you were
do.
excited at the sad ending here. I mean, we haven't got to the happy ending yet.
I was excited about the footnote.
Yeah. It was overwhelming. Again, plot device. Go with it. So he goes home to Savile Row. That's the house we talked about at the beginning. And it said his neighbors didn't even know. There's no evident change. The first thing that does happen is Passepartout turns off the gas. Yeah. He's worried about that for 80 days.
That's right.
But he lost by 5 minutes. It's painful. I mean, so close. So close. But again, he is calm. He bore his misfortune with habitual tranquility.
And there's no point in him even going to the club. He says everyone he bet against, they have his checks. And so they're just going to cash him. He doesn't need to be there to show that he's lost. He's got some personal things he needs to take care of, but he is ruined and he knows it. And so he goes home and he begins the process of whatever's next.
Unwinding. It says, so great had been the expense of his tour that even had he won, it would not have enriched him. And it is probably that he had not sought to enrich himself at all. But either way, his money is gone. He spent it all. He didn't win the wager. And so Passepartout and Aouda, they're worried about him. But he makes an appointment to talk to Aouda that evening. And Passepartout feels so guilty. And Fogg tells him, I blame no one. You know, he's so calm and even now. And it comments, it's a Sunday. He takes the day to do whatever it is he does. Probably a lot of mental math.
Yeah.
But it's that evening, Sunday evening, and he goes to speak to Ayuda, and he apologizes to her because he has no resources to help her now. The idea was she'd come back to Europe and he could help her find
Mm-hmm.
a relative or get established somewhere, and now he has nothing. And so his first step is to apologize, which is generous.
Yeah.
But she tells him that misery shared may be borne with patience. And they've developed a relationship throughout he's never been warm. He's always been cold, but he's always been very caring.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped to save her life. So, I mean, that goes a long way. So she asked him, "Do you wish at once a kinswoman and a friend? Will you have me for your wife?" This man is astonished, but
Yeah.
delighted.
Well, she is a whist player, so it's gonna work.
She's beautiful. She's smart. She's the whole package. She
Yeah.
plays whist. What?
And he even tells her that he loves her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, this is a Frenchman writing it. I'm not sure that the British would have put that in, but he tells her he loves her.
I'm rather fond of you.
That's right.
Something. I don't know. But he calls Passepartout. He says, "Go ask the Reverend. We want to be married tomorrow." It says on the clock here, it is 5 minutes after. Why do they say it that way? It's 8:05. 8:05 p.m. 5 minutes past 8. Okay. On a Sunday, they want to be married tomorrow on Monday, which becomes important because we go back to the club. The club that we saw the men at the beginning taking the bet. They were talking at the robber. They've been reading their papers and playing whist all this time. But that robber was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
3 days ago, it says. Fix told Fogg that 3 days ago. His name was James Strand. I don't know if that's a real name, but he was arrested in Edinburgh. And then people remember Fogg's wager. And suddenly those bonds and the betting are exciting again.
Yeah.
No longer is he a bad guy.
And I think they know that he got off the boat in Liverpool because, like, passenger lists and things like that, they have access to. They don't know what happened after that, but they know that he's close, and they're waiting.
There are 5 main men who took this bet with Phileas Fogg, and they know that he's a down to the minute kind of guy. He's not just early. He is a exact person. And it becomes kind of this party outside. There's people waiting outside the club, and they're like, no way he's going to make it. No way, right? It's 20 minutes to 9, right? He has to be there at 8:45. 20 minutes to 9. No, he's not here. We're fine. But they're getting nervous.
Now, wait a minute. What? He's lost the bet. He went home. Why are these men there, and why are they nervous?
It's a fair question.
And so we turn to Passepartout and his errand and what he's doing.
He went to find the Reverend at 8:05. 5 minutes past 8. But he comes back running and telling Mr. Fogg, it's not Sunday, it's Saturday.
He grabs him by the collar and is dragging him to the street to get him going. Mr. Fogg doesn't really know what's going on, but he starts moving, and then things start to make sense. Geography trivia. He has traveled around the world going east. Remember that whole ship time, and remember Passepartout's clock that was wrong and wrong and wrong and then right again, and now is right again because he's back in England? They gained a day. By traveling around the world eastward, they gained a day, and somehow this mathematical prodigy that is Phileas Fogg didn't realize it. And so he still has 20 minutes to get to the Reform Club and win the bet.
It does say that he explains it, the degrees of latitude around the world, and every increment you go on the meridians is an additional 4 minutes. He goes through the math of it, and I looked it up. This was not common knowledge then. Even the international dateline wasn't a commonplace thing just everybody knew about. So I think incrementally, wherever they were, he just reset his watch to local time. He did not account for the elapse of days. So 80 days did elapse for Phileas Fogg, but only 79 went past for the people in London.
Yeah, it says in here that if Passepartout's watch had shown the day, this would have made sense and they
Mhm.
would have figured it out, but it didn't. It only did it by the half day. And earlier when I said that I had read that Jules Verne would kind of pick up ideas and sit on them, the two ideas for this story were one, the 80 days to go around the world, and two, the fact that you gain a day of going east. And once he had those two in his head, he thought he could make a satisfying twist at the end.
It is. He was so sure he'd lost. And so these men at the club are waiting because he has to be there at 15 minutes to 9. And Fogg is late. He didn't know. So he is running out the door. He bribes the cabman. Just go fast as you can. So it's 8.
It does make me sad that it says the cab ran over 2 dogs.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that. Me too.
Yeah, so sorry. Go on.
Don't do that. But yeah, it's the 20 minutes to 9. No, and they're playing cards. And 18 minutes to 9, they stop playing cards. And they're just feverishly waiting. 17 minutes to 9, they're looking at the clock. They're looking. 16 minutes to 9. He has one more minute and he loses. And it says at the 40th second, nothing. At the 50th second, still nothing. At the 55th, a loud cry was heard in the street, followed by applause and hurrahs. The players rose from their seats. At the 57th second, the door of the saloon opened, and the pendulum had not beat the 60th second, 8:45, when Phileas Fogg appeared and in his calm voice said, "Here I am, gentlemen."
It's so good. It's great. What a payoff on that.
He made it around the world in 80 London days.
And it's clear that he didn't make much money out of this. So he spent almost everything. I think there was like basically £1,000.
Yeah,
he made.
He spent 19,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He took 20.
Yeah, so he made 1,000. Which, remember, he gives away his winnings. He's done that from the beginning, and he gives away these two. And I think this is sweet. He gives them to Passepartout, and he gives it to Detective Fix, who had been through this whole thing with him. That's generosity of heart. That's magnanimity there. That is just a cool thing. But it does say that he deducted the cost of the gas from Passepartout's portion.
For regularity. And he's still to be married. And so no longer on Monday. I think not Tuesday. Tuesday's okay. But the name of the chapter is good. It says, in which it is shown that Phileas Fogg gained nothing by his tour around the world, unless it were happiness.
And I think this is kind of cute because they are a little awkward after this because he's rich again. And there's sort of this, do you still want to marry me?
Yeah.
Do you still want to marry me?
They do.
Yeah, it's great.
So the idea that the unforeseen does not exist, because he maintains that throughout. It's foreseen, it's accounted for. Well, it doesn't. There's actually 3 things that he did not foresee. The detective arresting him last minute, the wife and the future happiness.
Who we found in India.
And an extra day around the globe. So 3 unforeseen things to account for if you ever take a wager. The other thing I wanted to say is about Gallivant.
Yes.
Gallivant is how do you even describe it? It was a TV series with musicals, and there's a king and a knight, and it's silly. And
it's a musical chivalry comedy. It is absurd, and I love it dearly.
In Gallivant, that came out years ago. I don't even know if you can still find it. We should find it.
You can. It's streamable. Originally on ABC.
I really enjoyed it. In an episode, there's a time where people keep trying to say when things are going to happen. I kept thinking it throughout this book because the times are so exact and they phrase it 5 minutes to 8. So here's a line from Gallivant. He'll be here tonight as the sun has cast its last shadow upon the earth and the crescent moon has risen above the eastern ridge.
So like 9 o'clock?
Yeah, 9 o'clock. And the guy gets there like 9:03. He's like, God, why are people late all the time? The other ones, because they're just so good. As soon as the croaks of the frogs usher in the raven's last call. 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Yeah. And the last 9 o'clock. when the barking of the hounds wakes the fairies in the evening so that they may begin their nocturnal dance. This one's Weird Al. He's like, so like 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Well, he is a monk of the Order of the Perpetual Refrain, which is wonderful. So.
They are. And the references to time and the watches and where he won't reset his watch. Totally together. 9 o'clock. Yeah. That's what I got.
Well, I had one last thought on it, and this went back to the love of whist of Phileas Fogg. I wonder if that's not the way he viewed this entire journey, as a competition, as a whist game between him and his partner, being Passepartout, or, Aouda with him as well, and sort of everyone else. And trump is money.
Mm.
And I thought that kind of fit a little bit, because that won him almost every one of these things that was a problem, although luck still played a hand, and there were some situations that even money, even the trump card, couldn't win.
I would argue that even whist would not be fun if there weren't some unforeseen things.
Yeah, true. Again, really enjoyed this book. It was fun reading it again. And now I think I might need to go watch the movie, because the movie's delightful too. But let's wrap this up with the ending of the book, where it says, Mr. Fogg quietly shut the door. Phileas Fogg had won his wager and had made his journey around the world in 80 days. To do this, he had employed every means of conveyance: steamers, railways, carriages, yachts, trading vessels, sledges, elephants. The eccentric gentleman had throughout displayed all his marvelous qualities of coolness and exactitude. But what then? What had he really gained by all this trouble? What had he brought back from this long and weary journey? Nothing, you say? Perhaps so. Nothing but a charming woman, who, strange as it may appear, made him the happiest of men. Truly, would you not for less than that make the tour around the world? And with that, we'll turn the page, and we hope you join us for the next chapter.
All right. So we're also going to do our thank you wrap up, because we do want to say thank you, everybody, for listening. This was a fun one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's an easy read. It's light, but it's entertaining. It's engaging, and just fun.
I learned some things. There are other references. There's one to Amphion's lyre.
Yeah, do you know that one?
I looked it up, but I was mostly going to ask you.
Yeah, so Greek myth, Amphion was one of two, I think they were brothers, who were commissioned to build the Wall of Thebes. So Amphion would use his lyre, and he could enchant the stones by the beauty of his music in order to put them in place. And then his brother was the great craftsman, who would then hone it and finish it. And the legendary walls of Thebes were made in this fashion.
The stones would stack themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's very lovely. So I just wanted to mention that. But that's actually what we want to try to keep doing with our Patreon, is some additional little stories and things like that, or things we think of, or kind of one-off thing. That was a side note in this book, not even relevant to the plot, but it's very lovely to know that. And now, if you ever hear about Amphion's lyre, you're like, ooh, I know, the stones stack themselves. So yeah, if you want to join our Patreon, you can do it for free. It's patreon.com/goodstoriespodcast. Patreon.com/goodstoriespodcast, because I say it 2 times. Also, if you ever have questions or stuff you'd like to talk to us about, we do have a Gmail. It's goodstoriespodcast@gmail.com, and we like questions. Happy to answer and discuss whatever, or we could mention it on an episode or in a short or what have you. I guess it depends on the question, but we'd love to get them. And the last thing I wanted to say is we love good reviews and good ratings. So if you have time to go give us a rating or review, we'd love to see it. And yeah, just thanks for being a part of our story.